OIT has changed. Anyone who's considering treatment options now, it's way different than it even was 3 to 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Just it's sort of like TIP or an alternate program, the OIT. And you are a family that may very shortly become both a TIP and an OIT family.
Right. I'll say like the first thing that I evaluated when thinking through this was, hi, hello, and welcome to EpiPod.
Sarah is a mom to 2 little boys with food allergies.
And Danielle has navigated life-threatening allergies her entire life.
Living with an invisible health condition is so isolating.
The fear and the anxiety.
Trying to cover it up so you don't affect anybody else.
Especially your kids. Sound familiar?
Join us on the couch and take a load off with people who just get it.
We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to EpiPod. Hey, Sarah.
Hey. I know you're having a day. I was going to say, how are you? And then I'm like, nope, I'm not even going to ask because I just already know that it's not great in your world right now.
I woke up to a huge dead rat outside in my backyard, and my mom is in town helping me move. And it's just like, ask me where I'm living. Whenever this airs, like I could be living in a different state. Just kidding. Maybe not. I don't know.
The episode that aired today, it's funny. We were talking about you moving to Bermuda. Like you were dealing with the rats even then. And
it's been happening for a long time.
Yes.
I really stuck it out.
You're either going to be in Bermuda or maybe your beloved Charleston when this airs, or maybe in El Paso, your hometown, but likely not Austin, which is sad for me, but that's okay.
No, but like as soon as you take away the cookie, the mouse wants the cookie. The mouse wants Austin again.
Oh, of course.
Oh, mouse. Oops, just kidding.
Too soon.
You're as good as I am bad.
I know why. We were just talking about that. Whenever I'm on the highest of high, you're the lowest of low, and vice versa. But yes, I am living
your dream.
Like, I'm living my dream right now. Truly, like every time we come on here and you're like, how are you, Sarah? It's like, I am like, I'm good. But like, it's always just kind of business as usual or like stressful, but like that's par for the course. And there haven't been like a ton of wins lately for me. I mean, my life is great. I'm not saying that, but like,
it's been a really hectic season for you, just
in
general.
It really has. And always juggling a lot and putting in a lot of time and effort on the treatment front, like food allergy treatment. And we went to California end of last week, and Graham passed his final dairy challenge.
Full body chills.
I know. So he is cleared for milk, like for all dairy. Like he can eat it. We still have a maintenance amount that he has to have every morning, but he's uncapped. Like Danielle, he can eat anything he wants.
So he can eat a slice of cheese pizza that you ordered from like Domino's.
Kind of. So there is like one stipulation.
And then he can run around a playground and not worry about it?
Oh, yeah. The stipulation is for 60 days, he can't have hard cheeses. So like we don't know. I'm a little hesitant to like right away order a pizza from Domino's because I don't know if their like cheese blend has like Parmesan in it, and that's a hard cheese.
Oh.
So like for 60 days, there's like a little bit of a limitation. But like in terms of any kind of yogurt he wants, like ice cream, donuts, any baked things that have milk in them.
He could just be like, ooh, I'm having a cookie that was made with milk.
Oh, totally.
And also have a glass of milk with it?
Totally.
And what if he's like, I want 3 glasses of milk?
Yeah. I mean, they said at the beginning, let's not like go crazy because his body is still going, even just like the lactose, right? Like allergies aside, it's like, well, his like gut needs to understand what this is, you know? And he's built tolerance in all the ways, not just the allergy ways, but I know with anything, right? You don't want to go from like small amounts to ginormous amounts. Yeah. So we're tiptoeing, but also kind of not. Like he had ice cream this weekend. He had donuts like every day so far.
Oh my gosh.
He is living his life, man. And so are we. And it's like, seeing the joy on his face is truly indescribable. Wow. And then I've been told like seeing the joy on mine is also like, I'm not looking in the mirror, of course, but like it's just feels like the weight of the world has lifted.
I said 3 separate times when I walked in, like,
Yeah.
you look really good. Like, oh, you look amazing.
And I was like, that's weird because my hair is like not washed, and
No.
it's just
it's like you're literally like your skin is bouncier. Like everything about you is lifted.
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear that because that's how I feel. So it's like but it's also kind of like I didn't know how I was. I'm not saying you thought I didn't look, but I'm not saying
great.
that. But I just know that like I was carrying so much. Like it's been really, really heavy, and it's not over. Like we're still in the program probably for another 9 months. I mean, he's not cleared peanut. Like we've still got a journey, but milk. I've always said like if we never get peanut, we'll be all right. Like I want it, of course, but it is cherry on top for me.
Wow.
Like milk is everything because it's in everything.
Yeah.
And it totally restrains life. Like it totally makes it hard to do pretty much anything, having a milk allergy. And same with people who are allergic to like soy or to egg or wheat. Like I feel like those are really hard allergens to just kind of live a normal everyday life. Not saying the other ones are not difficult, as you know. But it's just, it's in more. Like it's of the just kind of general, especially as a kid, like in the kid diet, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So yeah, milk was always like, it feels like graduation to me. Like it feels like we've won. And so it's been really great.
And he's cross contact cleared for everything, for peanut, which is the only thing that's left.
Right.
So
Yeah,
things
he's
like
cleared all his tree nuts, his egg, and now his milk.
like going to the donut shop and picking a donut is not something that I can do because and as you guys now learned, I like cross contact is freaky.
Right.
But he can literally do whatever he wants.
Yeah. I mean, somebody sent us a really nice internet friend that's become a real friend, sent us donuts from Voodoo Donuts, like the little fancy donut place, you know? I think it started in like Oregon or something, but they're here in Austin too. And like she was like, I just made sure there was like no peanuts in it. And like I double checked with her, just making sure, there's no peanuts. But like, I mean, I didn't call about it. I didn't
never been able to receive a delivery like that.
No.
I can't have a delivery like that. I'm like, oh, that's so thoughtful. Like, who in my life would like this?
Yeah. Who can I pass this on to?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's like those little things that just keep adding up to be like a relief, like such a joy, such a relief, such a burden off my shoulders. And I said this on my Instagram, but I really mean it, that like, I think I never want to come across as like, if you can't do treatment or you don't do treatment or you've chosen to, or you don't have access to it, that like your kid's life or you yourself, speaking to you, Danielle, that like your life is going to be worse or not as good or bad in any kind of way. It's just different. And like, I do feel very grateful that we have had the access and the success and the ability to be in this particular program. And it has certainly changed my life and his life for the better. And I encourage people to definitely like try those things or look into those things, but like not to feel guilt or bad, like if you can't or if it doesn't work out. But it really has been like just the most life-changing of things.
That's amazing.
And it's only been a matter of days. So I still feel like I've cried all the tears every single time. I still do. Anytime I see him happy about something or eating something new, and I just know it's going to keep happening. Like the first birthday party that we go to, the pizza party at school, like all these little things.
Oh my gosh.
It's just going to be, dopamine hit after dopamine hit, as one of my friends says.
That's so exciting. Okay, well, in a past episode, you described tip as sawing off your arm, but so far it's worth it. And now you can actually say like, well, the amputation was The best path forward for our family.
100%. Yes, it has been for us.
Yeah.
It might not be for everyone, but it has been for us.
If I had been given a program, or like if TIP was okay for adults.
Yeah.
And someone had said like, eventually you will have no cap, no limit, no exercise worries, no anything. Ooh, I would have found, that would have been something to consider, like found a way to be like, I can fight for 3 years, or I can fight for 5 years, like whatever they gave you as your plan.
Right.
I just know I cannot fight for however many days God gives me on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Like I can't fight for 75 years.
Yeah.
I can't fight for 60. I can't even fight for 30 more years. Like,
right.
So it's just so different to think about it that way.
Yeah.
But that said, I feel like this podcast, a lot of conversations online, just it's sort of like TIP or an alternate program, the OIT. And you are a family that may very shortly become both a TIP and an OIT family.
Right.
So yeah, I'm so curious.
Yeah. And I think that's like, you know, I get that question a lot on social media, is like, well, Ethan has an allergy. Like, why isn't he in TIP? You know,
that's so sassy of them.
Oh, I get a lot of sass on Instagram. I mean, there's a lot of love and support too.
There's no one more brutal than moms on Instagram.
Yeah, oh gosh, yes. So judgy and so like, I don't know. But yes, that is a question that comes up a lot. Is like, well, why aren't you in TIP for Ethan? I think the question is valid, right? Because it's like, you're doing this for one kid, but not the other. Like people are trying to make the decision, like, what should I do? So they're wanting to know like how my decision making happened so that they can apply it then to their life,
right? Which
I understand, totally. You know, and there's a lot of factors. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a good episode to like go into that and answer those questions. I'll say like, the first thing that like I evaluated when thinking through this was the sheer number of allergies that we were fighting.
Totally.
So Graham had the longer list. He had like 6 anaphylactic allergies, according to, by the way, in case anybody's listening and is like not into TIP person, which is totally fine. You don't have to be. But one of them that we thought he was allergic to, like they actually told us like he's sensitized to that, but like he's not really allergic to that. So for the people who are like, TIP makes it up that you have all these allergies so that they keep you in the program longer and blah, blah, blah. Like there's a lot of like controversy or people like spreading that information. And I'm sure they have valid reasons to feel that way or think that. But like, I will say from personal experience, that wasn't our experience.
It was the opposite.
Right. Yeah. And so that to say, like we had multiple allergists tell us like Graham had this longer list of allergens, and then we had Ethan who has one single allergen. So I think that just the number, it was the first thing I evaluated. And then secondly, like the allergen, we just talked about how all allergies are horrible and bad, but like in my mind, having been a parent to somebody who has a variety of different allergens, some are harder than the others, in my opinion. Everyone has a different experience, but to me, the milk, the egg, that is harder to manage for my family than peanut or tree nut or sunflower seeds. Sunflower seeds is tricky in its own way because it's like sneaky and people don't acknowledge it as an allergen. It's not bolded on a label. Like there's all those other factors, but it is simpler to avoid for our family. So I think the number, the type was a big one. Also age. So Graham started in TIP when we got his testing done at 3.5 and he started active treatment at 4. So Ethan just turned 4. So, I mean, we're not like, if we were to decide to do TIP with Ethan, we're not like behind. Do you know what I mean? Like we're like, I wouldn't have made that decision a year ago. I truly think we did TIP for Graham at like a perfect age. Some people do it younger with a lot of success, but I do know that there's people as you get older, it tends to get harder because not only the body, like the physical, like body, but also the mental and the activities. Like kids that are older, they're just in more stuff and they don't want to have to wait around for dosing and stuff. Like Graham, he's still little. Like I totally control his schedule. You know what I mean? So I think that we kind of hit a sweet spot is what I feel for entering the program and doing the program. And so Ethan, like if we were to get him started in a program, which we very well may, in OIT, it's pretty much on the same timeline as what we did for Graham. So that's a factor. Also, availability. So anyone who's considering treatment options now, it's way different than it even was 3 to 5 years ago. Like the amount of offices even doing OIT, the type of allergens that doctors at those offices are treating. I've said this before, but when we got Graham into TIP, his local doctor said his numbers are too high to even do peanut, and that's the only allergen that they treated. So we were not going to get help for milk, not through that doctor. And then I could have maybe searched around a little bit more, and I think Dr. Silvers here in Austin, who you see, was starting to do a lot more allergens, or maybe even was then. But it was not like readily available information to me. I also considered the fact that like you said, you didn't want this like ball and chain for the rest of your life, having to do this maintenance dose every single day and have this wait period every single day. The goal with TIP for every patient is to get them to at least a weekly dose, if not bi-weekly, meaning like a maintenance dose amount. And
which is sort of just like would naturally happen if you were eating.
Yeah, it totally could.
Especially with something like milk or egg.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be getting that every day because it's in everything.
Right.
But,
I think they still want you to have the exact amount that they prescribe, only because you might think you're getting a lot of doses of things, but you're really not. Or like, for example, like yogurt or ice cream. There are 2 different components of the protein of milk. And so that, if you were like, oh, well, I hate this, and this, but I love ice cream and I eat it all the time. Well, you're only really treating one component of the milk. So by drinking like whole cow's milk at a certain amount, like 3 ounces we're going to do, you're guaranteeing that you've checked the box. And then you don't have to worry about eating more.
And it's okay that you have more.
Right.
Okay.
It's just that you have to have that minimum amount, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was the promise, or like the hope through TIP. And obviously we've gotten there now with dairy. So it's come true for us. But the idea, and again, OIT has changed. I think Dr. Silvers is getting people to more weekly type doses of things, like especially for, people who either are starting to even grow out of it on their own, or like for milk versus peanut, like peanuts might be a little bit different. But like when I started looking into OIT options, it was like, your kid's going to eat 5 peanuts a day for the rest of his life to maintain this. And that just felt so ball and chain to me. Like I was like, oh, I know it's better and safer to have that protection, but also like to know that for his whole life, I'm going to have to trust, number one, that he can do it when he gets older, like that he's going to do it. And then also just have this thing like hanging over our heads that we have to do every day. I just didn't know if there was another option. I didn't know if I wanted that.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the majority of the factors that I weighed. And again, things are so much different now than they even were when we started the program like 3 years ago. Now with Ethan, we've just kind of been on cruise control with him as we focus on Graham. And that sounds really bad, I think, but
I don't think so. There's literally only so much that you can handle.
Right.
And also this is like, it's for each kid. Like I follow a TIP mom who one of her both kids have a very long list of anaphylactic allergens.
Yeah.
And one kid, she was able to start at X age because he's a big eater and he's a little bit more calm and he's a little, just like his disposition
right.
was okay. Her second child, the pickiest eater ever, like having a hard time just like getting enough down every day because she just is not a big eater.
Right.
The amount of food, the amount of nuts that these little bodies are having to eat. I mean, you were having to go full on Houdini, hiding like how many pecans every morning before breakfast. Like it's a lot. It's a lot of volume.
Yeah.
It's a lot of creativity. Even if it was just like a lot of volume of something that this kid could eat safely, was their favorite food, this one particular child does not eat that much volume in one sitting ever.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't think it sounds bad at all. It's like your plate can only handle so much, and like each kid's disposition is so different. Graham is so much more calm. Yeah. And he's like, Ethan is running around in the little monster costume. Although it looks like Graham was also in the monster costume, which is so random. What was that from?
So it's Halloween month. So they encourage kids to dress up for Halloween, like in their costume.
That's so cute.
Yeah. If y'all don't know what we're talking about, he was like in the videos that I posted of Graham, like reaching this milestone in treatment. He's in like a green dragon costume.
Yeah. He's like a full, like a headpiece on.
Oh yeah. He loves it. And both my kids are like very into Halloween and they just like dressing up. And I'm like, you're only little for so long. Totally. I'm going to lean in, baby, to that. So yeah, he even reminded me, we were like in the parking lot of the hotel, like going to the appointment, and he was like, Mommy, my costume. And like we ran back into the hotel room and like got it because I had just forgotten about it, and he remembered.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
I know, it was like beginning of October too, so people were probably like, what is this? Like, what is happening right now? Yeah, I mean, I think Ethan is a big eater, and I think he would be fine in it, but I just think, yeah, I mean, like I tell people this all the time. I remember somebody was like, my husband's going through a cancer treatment right now, and I just lost my job, but we really feel like we should be doing this program for my kids, but I'm just worried I'm going to be too stressed out. And I was like, look, I'm not trying to make your decision for you, but I personally believe like your mental health and well-being is way more important, like for the overall safety and like well-being of your family and quality of life. Like take care of the big stuff right now. Like you're managing this allergy. Like I know that it's hard and it sucks. Like allergy life freaking sucks and we all want it to go away right away. But like it is better, in my opinion, for somebody to like maintain and stay on cruise control and be like happier and more stable than it would be to try to complicate your life with something else and then feel so bad all the time and so stressed and dysregulated to the point where like your family feels like it's crumbling. Like, so what are you're hurting yourself in this process. Like that's not the point, like you of course are going to have, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. Like you're going to go through stuff.
Saw off arm.
Yeah. Enter sawed off arm. But I mean, in certain situations, it just does not make sense to do anything. Better yet, tip, like fly across the country,
Totally. Oh my gosh, flying across the country is a whole other level.
It's crazy.
I mean, I'm the perfect example of like, my body was tolerating it. Yeah. My mind was not. My stress levels was not. So, it's so nuanced.
It is.
It's like a whole new way. It's a whole new definition of like, it's allergy life is really gray.
Yeah. Oh, always in every sense of the word and every way that you can slice an allergy.
So something that like, when I was like, I don't think I can do OIT anymore. You're like, I understand that you don't want this ball and chain. I understand. Yeah. And you just said it again. Like, I didn't want Graham to have this ball and chain. Yeah. Do you feel like because science changes and the programs and protocols change every year, are you just hopeful that it won't be a ball and chain for Ethan, or that like he'll only have to do his dose like a couple times a week or grow out of it? Or like, how does that translate in that area for you?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I don't know that I've thought through that completely, only that, yes, I'm hopeful for all those things. Like I'm hopeful that we can get, like I said, Dr. Silvers, I think, is getting patients to not a daily dose. I also think, again, having only one to do, like even if he did have a daily dose for a year or 2 years, and then it went down to 3 times a week for a year, and then it got down to a weekly or whatever, like one item in something in the morning before he goes to school, at least compared to what we've done in TIP, feels like a piece of cake. Like it feels so easy to me. Like we'll definitely be able to do that, especially again, because he's so young. And I'm hopeful that because he's so young, in 10 years before he goes off to college or wherever, maybe like it'll be gone. It will just either be gone on its own or like science will have come up with something a whole lot better, you know?
It's so funny. The imagery I have in my brain of what you just said, it's like, if somebody were standing here on this concrete floor with us and they just stood up and did a back handspring, you'd be like, whoa, like you just did a back handspring in your jeans. Like what's going on? But if it's Simone Biles or like this Olympic gymnast who they're doing these crazy unheard of stunts. Every morning, every night, all the time, competing world stage, all this stuff. It's like a back handspring in my jeans it feels like child's play to me. Like sunflower, one thing, OIT for this kid down the street, very progressive, researched doctor. You're like, yeah, it's a big handspring, but we just came back from the Paris Olympics. Okay.
Yes. That's such a good analogy. It's such a good way to think of it because it's exactly how it feels. Like you're used to so much and so much more that like, even though this is hard, it feels a lot easier. Like the threshold, it feels different. And I mean, here's the thing too, like I'm talking about, like, I'm going to definitely be doing OIT. I mean, I'm still hopeful that we go, the first thing we have to do is a challenge. So that's coming up in a little bit. And once we do that, I mean, my first hope is that he eats sunflower and all of a sudden he's not allergic, you know, like his numbers are low enough to where Dr. Silver's a well-respected allergist here in Austin is saying, yeah, let's do a challenge. So I mean, yes, there's always a risk that he will fail and not, you know, he'll have a reaction and we'll have to do an OIT, but there's also a really good probability that he could pass.
I mean, when Dr. Silvers did the same thing with me, like your levels for almond are low enough where I want you to do a food challenge. That has made it so much easier. Like there are so many places where they only have almond milk or they only have almond anything. And it's like just it was the scariest day of my life because it was my first food challenge, but you walk away knowing and it could be life-changing either way. So,
and if you just made me think of, we have a whole episode on food challenges and like, oral challenges, I think is the title of it. And we kind of go into all of that there about the nitty-gritty of those. So if you're interested or like, what is that? Like if you're a new allergy person, that's a good one to check out. It's kind of earlier on in our episodes and maybe we can link it back in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll link it back in the show notes. I have several food allergy adults reach out to me being like, I have a food challenge. Like they've wanted me to do this for years. I could never muster up the courage. It's a good episode to listen to if you're feeling like, okay, I am feeling like this is something that I do want to do years after the recommendation or every year your allergist is trying to tell you to do it. It really goes in depth of how to manage the anxiety going into it, like what exactly the appointments, at least our appointments look like. And like generally they're kind of the same. Like the time might be different or each allergist might have their little nuanced things, but at the end of the day, it'll really help you know what to expect going into it because I feel like that's the unknown for allergy people is huge. We don't want unknown. We don't want to break what has kept us safe for so long. So I feel like even just a little ray of light of what could be known is really helpful. It was helpful to me and I've heard feedback from people being like, oh my gosh.
Good. Yeah.
I needed that. So thanks for going so in depth. But yeah, we'll link it below.
Yes.
When is Ethan doing his food challenge?
So it should be, right now we have it scheduled for December.
Okay.
So it's not like tomorrow, but it's also not
Forever.
Yes.
Sarah, I'm so excited for your family.
I know. I'm excited. I'm anxious, but like we've done this before. It's not our first rodeo, thankfully. So I think that it will be with Ethan, but like, I feel like I'm not necessarily afraid of the appointment. I'm more just, I don't want to get my hopes up, but I'm really I really want to be hopeful, and I really am hopeful that for some reason he's just going to pass. But I am also grateful to know that we have the option to do OIT after, and we can do it locally. And that's another thing. I mean, we touched on it, but like flying across the country, when deciding between like a TIP or an OIT, and you're looking at your life and like, do you have, like, some of these families too, they're like, well, my third child has all these allergies and I want to bring him to TIP, but I also have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they have all these sports and activities, and like, I don't want to diminish their quality of life, or I'm a single mom, or like, all of these things are so many factors that are hard to make a like every 10-week trip across the country and hotel stay and all the expenses to make it make sense. Right. And so I think, like, when I think about our decision, would we put Ethan in TIP? I think ultimately we would, if for some reason OIT was not an option. Like, if there was nobody that treated it, or if there was, like, if he really ran into a lot of trouble. Like, so again, like TIP, if you're not familiar with it and you haven't listened to the TIP episode, it doesn't start you on, like, Ethan wouldn't go day one to his launch visit at the TIP program and start eating sunflower seeds. Whereas at OIT, he will.
Yes.
First day, he'll eat small amounts of sunflower seeds. TIP will start you on foods that are biosimilar to sunflower for months, maybe a year, before you even get to eat sunflower seeds.
Yeah.
So some people fail out of OIT and have reactions or issues because their body maybe isn't like ready enough to be eating that. Whereas of course people have problems in TIP too, but I've heard of people who have not done well in OIT and have done well at TIP because, again, their process, their plan, their whole science behind it is that they are priming your body with biosimilar proteins before they're giving you the actual food.
Allergen,
so I think if for some reason we started it and he was just having all sorts of issues and, we couldn't find any other way around it, I think, then we would probably consider TIP for him too, and just hope it's a short little program.
It's coming from somebody who is no longer even in any program, but Dr. Silvers and Aspire Allergy were just the most kind, compassionate, helpful, flexible, well-researched group of people. And I have such high hopes that if he, after Food Challenge Day, does need to do OIT, I just have such high hopes. You're going to love, I hope that you don't have to work with him, but you're going to love working with him. He's amazing. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to just figuring something out. And like, as we've said before, challenges, food challenges, OIT, whatever it is, it's quite literally challenging, but at least it gives you data points. Like it gives you, a better understanding, a few more answers in this world of gray and unknown. You at least walk away with something. And I think that is incredibly valuable. And then you can take those data points and that information and make a more informed decision based on the factors in your life and the experiences that you've had and just like your mental state and ability to tackle the next thing. Yeah. Well, I hope that was a little bit helpful.
I think it was. I think that is like, that those are the brass tacks and the nuance.
Yeah.
Like that's the gray that, like, even as somebody who considers each other great friends, like we talk every single day. I feel like I am very up to date with you all's treatment programs. I'm like, this is so gray. I think that this is a perfect example of like just how nuanced and how you have to weigh all these pros and cons.
Yeah.
So thank you for going so much into it.
Yeah. And also I think what you just said too, like there's no decision should ever be like vilified. Do you know what I mean? Like
totally. I can't, let me at him. Who is making you, who's vilifying you?
I mean, I think people feel pressure. Maybe some of it's put on themselves. And then of course, like if you're someone like me who's posting our life on social media, you're going to get people giving you their opinions as well. But like, I mean, I just think there's so much that parents like hear or feel pressure about like what the decisions that they're making for their kids. And like, they feel like, well, if I don't do TIP, then I'm not doing the best for my kid. Or if I'm not doing OIT, then I'm not even giving them a shot. If I'm just avoiding, it's like, but there's no, for every family, like you said, it's so nuanced. For every family, the best thing is different. Totally. There is no one size fits all. And so if nothing else from this episode, take that away from this, that like, we're a divided household, and then who knows, like, what if we decide to do nothing, and then that's another layer, like, oh, we've done a huge treatment program and now we're deciding not even to do OIT, and we're, avoiding for Ethan forever. Like, I mean, none of it's bad. It's just what works for your family. And I don't think anyone should carry any guilt for the decisions that they make.
You hit the nail on the head. Like, a lot of it can be just from yourself. Like, if anybody's listening and they're like, I have 2 posts on Instagram, it's a private account and only 3 people follow it. Like, they can still be feeling everything that you just listed. Like, totally. As a recovering perfectionist that is definitely not recovered, like, it doesn't matter if it's about allergies or like this rat situation. Like, it's so easy to be like the biggest Regina George to yourself and like put such impossible pressure. Like, I put myself in no-win situations all the time. It's a hard decision. Okay, I choose A because it's the best for what I know now, and it ends up a terrible decision. Then it's so hard to not shame yourself. And it's with OIT, like, deciding to not do it, it's still so hard to not fall into like a spiral of like, oh, what if you had tried harder? What if you had done this different?
What did I do wrong?
Why was I not strong enough? Like, why couldn't I have all of the resources going into helping me with my anxiety? Like, why wasn't I enough? Yeah. So anybody listening, preaching to the choir, don't fall into that pit.
Yeah. Yeah. And get help if you are falling into the pit right now, like, try to reach for a lifeline if you can, because nobody deserves to feel that way. Yeah.
Okay, great. Questions?
Yes, let's do it.
Da-da-da.
This segment is brought to you by Pulse Power, a high-protein, all-natural chickpea-based snack line that is co-founded by an allergy mom. And Danielle, we love these snacks in our house.
They have delicious snack sticks and chickpea spreads that are made in a dedicated top 14 allergen-free facility. A great choice for school lunches and snack boxes.
Okay, Danielle, this one kind of ties into something we just talked about in one of our other episodes about food challenges.
Okay.
How do you get through food challenges with little kids? I have a 3-year-old daughter who we tried to challenge hazelnut today with and refused to continue at last dose. I feel so much for this mom.
Totally.
The last dose, you're like, come on, child.
I would have been like, I'll buy you a pony, like a literal pony. I'll buy a horse. It could live in the bathtub.
Yes, totally. I mean, I am not above bribes in these situations, and I'm sure she probably tried that.
Oh, I'm sure she tried everything.
I'm sure she tried everything. But for somebody who's like, oh my gosh, that's my worry, that's my concern. For sure, don't be afraid of bribes. The main things I did was I came into the challenge making sure my kid, and this was even before TIP, like when we did some challenges in our allergist office with Graham before starting that program, making sure they've eaten a little bit, but not too much. So they're like hungry enough to eat these doses. Different vehicles. So like if it's a crushed up something, like don't just go in with one thing, like go in with like 5 things. Or like if they like people always one of my best like secret weapons is like an icing that is safe. Like I'm talking a literal, like what you put on a cake, like disgusting for you in every way, like total trash for your body. But like for Graham, I mean, we can pretty much put anything in like neon blue icing and he'll eat it.
Shut up.
Like, I mean,
that was his holy grail.
Yeah. And it's like, or cookie butter. Like I think it only has soy and wheat in that, but like, I mean, just make sure you bring stuff that's safe and that they know, but also like, for example, if you're like, oh, well, I think they like icing, but like get 3 different colors of icing, like get like the purple, the blue and the yellow icing and like be like, oh, but baby, for this dose, how about we put it in the yellow? I can make it into a flower, like, whatever. Like,
my gosh.
get so start to like brainstorm things that you can do. Like if you're heading into a challenge that can be like kind of new and exciting, that can be similar, but different enough to where it is like new. Also distraction is huge.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. I mean, like Graham can be a little bit of a screen zombie. Like, I mean, he is obsessed with screens, like a game or a show or a movie. Like he is just my screen kid. And, I mean, I swear he tunes out so much from the world. When he is sucked into something, it's like, I can just be like, open your mouth and like put something in his mouth and he just will, because he's so into the game.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And I don't think that's every kid, but I just know that a lot of kids, when they're like very, very distracted, it's helpful. And yeah, just like if it's a muffin type thing, like bring toppings or like mush it up and mix it with icing, like try to get creative that way. And then also I always would bring like a new bag of toys. So like, dollar store stuff, but like have a grab bag that like every hour that you're in there, you can like give them a new thing so that they're not like annoyed, ready to go and refusing for that reason. And then maybe also ask your doctor, like, can we stick around a little longer? Like I'm sure, again, who knows if they were there for 5 hours and they still wouldn't eat it. But like, I mean, just be like, hey, I know you're thinking that the time is up, but like, let us just stay another hour. Like, can we do this? And just keep pushing.
I am obviously not a child. I'm a 33-year-old woman. However, when I was doing food challenges, for Sesame Day, even though I ate crackers with like whole sesame seeds for forever. Like my favorite crackers have sesame seeds, but we went ahead and did the Sesame Challenge because the numbers were higher than a lot of the other ones that I definitely am anaphylactic to. Like I failed pistachio, but those numbers were blood test wise. Pistachio was lower than sesame.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I eat sesame all the time. And
numbers
like,
are so annoying.
It's like back to the gray. However, we went ahead and did the tahini because it's crushed up and it's like different. I was dry heaving. I couldn't even vlog it properly because you can't put that on the internet. Like I was dry heaving. And finally I just looked at the nurses and Dr. Silvers and I was just like, I'm an adult, but like, I'm going to go full child on you right now. Like I can't do this. Like I have 4 more whatevers. I haven't had any reactions and I eat it all the time. Like what can we do? Cause I only have so many more gags left in me. Like I can't do this. Yeah. And I mean, it will matter. It'll change like allergist per allergist, but he was like, okay, like let's just go to the last dose. Like if you can get the last dose down, I'll break the rules for you. And I think it was for a lot of reasons. Like I had no symptoms. I already was eating the whole seeds, whatever. Maybe he was just like, get this girl out of here. But I did the last dose and like, I don't think I would have finished the challenge if he hadn't made that sort of exception for me, because I literally, Sarah, I was like, I'm going to puke. And I know that will mean a failed challenge, but I'm not going to puke because I feel bad.
Yeah.
There is no part of my body I can't handle this anymore.
Did you mix it with anything?
I tried everything. I tried pudding. I tried applesauce. I tried Greek yogurt. I was like convinced. I called the nurse in, like my favorite nurse. And I was like, all right, I bought this off Amazon because that's the link that you guys gave me, but like it has to be spoiled. Like this has to be like, it says it's not expired, but it has to be spoiled.
Yeah.
And she was like, nope, that's like the way it smells. And she tasted it and she was like, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Oh my gosh.
I tried everything. So like all to say, it may not just be like a kid thing. Like don't feel bad because a full grown adult person who's paying for it out of their own pocket, like I couldn't do it. And the only way around it was because of the exception made. Another thing is if you don't have a screen zombie, this was like a reverse psychology thing that I did with me. I'm really into reading. Like I love books. And so I would specifically like save, if I was getting really into the chapter or like really into the book, I'd be like, perfect, I'm going to save that up for food challenge day. because I know I'm going to have to sit there and I'll want to finish this book. Nurse comes in with the dose. I'm like, all right, if I just take it, I can get back to reading. So it's almost like deprivation. Like if you, like if they're not a screen kid, but they're really into the show, we can turn the show back on, but you have to eat this first.
Yeah.
And like that worked on me with the book. And I did that with a couple of shows that I was really excited to binge.
I mean, again, another type of bribe, but like you got to do what you got to do.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And maybe also like she said her kid was 3, like wait a year. Yeah. Kids change so much. And who knows, at 4, the kid might decide they're totally fine to eat all the doses. And so don't be too hard on yourself if it doesn't work out. But I think your story about like asking the doctor for like a special exception, like again, of course that's not going to work for everybody or every doctor, and it won't be safe for everybody, but in certain cases it might be. So just another reminder to people to just advocate for yourself and your family.
Totally. He wouldn't have had no idea, because once he sees you at the beginning of the appointment and then he wasn't see you until the very end. Yeah. Like it was just the nurses. Like if I had just been in there by myself, like trying not to puke on the floor, they would have never known.
True.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more. Okay. And I think it's a quickie. My coworker is eating my anaphylactic allergen at the desk right next to me, even though management has said you cannot eat at the desk.
I'm going to let you take this one.
I would literally just take it to HR and just be like, pull a Meredith Blake from The Parent Trap. It's either them or me. Get the picture?
You're so good at remembering movie lines. I'm the worst at that.
Oh my gosh, it's just like that one movie and like Hocus Pocus. But no, just be like, this is an endangerment to my safety. Yeah. If this person were bringing a weapon, like a gun, a loaded gun to work, you wouldn't tolerate that. So we've tried it being nice. I think this is grounds for somebody's going to have to leave the company. And it's not going to be me, because I am doing a good job and I'm literally just here trying to stay alive. Yeah. So literally I would just get in HR's face and tell them, make sure they know what the stakes are. Yeah. Granted, my doctor would be like, you're fine if I'm not worried about it being in the air for you. Right. But I wouldn't want to work next to that every day. Yeah. That's a terrible work environment.
It's still just even if I say this all the time too, when people are like, well, that's not going to kill you or kill your kid. I'm like, yeah, but it's not always just about having an a life-threatening anaphylactic reaction. We also don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want our kids to be itchy. We don't want you to be nervous to the point where you can't do your job. It's quality of life. It's not just life and death. Totally. It's life. It's not just life and death. Totally. It's quality of life.
Totally. Just because it's not going to make me go to the ER does not mean that it's not okay. Right. Well, you know what I mean? Yeah. No, I would literally take it to HR. I would escalate it. I would make their life a living hell. That is not appropriate. And then, me being me, I would go to social media and rack up a lot of views. Yeah. And they wouldn't want that.
They would not want that.
I use that all the time. I'm like, I have 130,000 people who could know about this in about 15 seconds. Yeah. Do you want that? Because I don't think you do.
No.
And the beauty of TikTok is you don't have to have 130,000 followers. Anybody could open an account, do it. I'm not saying this is the high road, but I'm also not Michelle Obama. So we go low. I'm kidding. No, we go squeaky. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. There's just a lot of avenues.
Yeah, totally. I think that I would, if I was advising Graham in the workplace when he's older. And I mean, I think this person said they've tried, right? The boss or manager has already tried talking to that person.
They just said management said no eating at the desk.
Okay. So, I mean, I think I would take the first steps. I personally think I would say before you go to HR, I would say talk to your manager about having a conversation with that person, or you have a conversation. Maybe they really don't know. If they're being an asshole, that's different, right? Then we're going to have to go to HR. But if they just are not listening to the food policy, but don't really understand the allergy aspect of it, then I think having a conversation, getting the vibe check on them, are they going to be like, oh my God, I totally didn't know, or I completely forgot. I don't live the allergy life. I'm so sorry. There's a way to just instead of calling code enforcement on your neighbor, maybe talk to your neighbor first. But if your neighbor is an asshole, that, has been habitually not nice or not friendly or not willing to do things, that's different. But
I feel for this, and honestly with most things with allergies, or honestly anything, this is how I was with the rats in the apartment. I am My Little Pony. I am My Little Pony on interaction 1. And then if you are trying to put my safety in harm's way, I am Cruella on her worst day. Like, you will rue the day. And I think it's warranted. Like, you're so right though. Like, be My Little Pony first. Yeah. Yes. There's no need to call code blue, but like, I'm going to ring the code blue.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
And I think you have every right to, after you've kind of gone up the ladder the way that I think makes sense, before you pull the fire alarm, you know?
Okay. Well, we're not going to pull any fire alarms today.
No.
And thanks for listening.
Yes.
Leave us a review and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.